Very good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. This is the third day and evening session. Today, semester 3 students are let me see, making their presentations on postcolonial studies, and this is the evening slot. Okay? Let us have a list of the students who are making the presentations in this session, and let us have a look at their topics also. So we'll have 10 presentations in this session. I'll start with Insiyafatema's presentation on ecocriticism with an angle of postcolonial studies into it. Mansi on postcolonial study in Bollywood. Nirali on comparative study of Robinson Crusoe and Faux. Pyle on Franz Fanon's The Wretched of the Earth and the Psychology of Colonial Violence. Pooja on Crusoe and Cruso, a comparative character analysis. Rajeshvariba on Gandhi and Fanon, divergent paths of decolonialism. Riddhi on wide Sargasso Sea with feminist approach. Rinkals on alienation and madness in wide Sargasso Sea. Trushali's on Friday, the muted tongue of the postcolonial world. And finally, the last one will be by Upasana on comparative analysis of Jane Eyre and Antoinette. Okay, so let us start with the first presentation of the day. Please start.
Ecocriticism is the study of relationship between literature and the physical environment. Ecocriticism was initially used by William Rutledge in his 1978 critical prose work, Literature and Ecology, an experiment in criticism. Ecocriticism. Uh, Glotfelty makes a difference between eco and environment. Environment, these words, enviro sees people as the most important thing in the world with everything else going around us. But eco suggests that everything in the world is connected and we are not separate from separate from it. It's like saying we all are part of one big interwoven system. Ecocriticism, pioneered by Shrel Glotfelty in the USA, it gained prominence after the 1988 Western Literature Association conference and replaced the term green writing. What do the eco-critics do? Peter Barry, in his work Beginning Theory, gives us an understanding of literary theories with a particular focus on eco-criticism. Eco-critics do they read or reread the major as well as other work of literature with a few finder to trace the natural representation in the writing, praise the authors, poets, and intellectuals who put nature on higher pedestal than other themes, give importance to the writing with an eco-centric perspective, such as memoirs, essays about places, intellectual writing containing visual landscape in text, etc. Not conform to the traditional notions of literary theory that suggest linguistic or social build and thus working through the class lens of world beyond ourselves. So eco-critics reread the literature with the perspective of how writer explain the nature in their work. According to Peter Berry, the eco-centric reading, by contrast, focuses outside on the house and its environs rather than the inside on the owner and his psychology. Anthropocene versus Biocene. In the Anthropocene era, humans tend to place themselves at the top. So these are a hierarchical chart in which Anthropocene humans believe that we are at the top level and other creatures are under us. Humans seeing themselves as superior to all other life forms on the earth. They often think of themselves as the only artistic being and believe they are better than everything else. However, eco-criticism challenges this human-centric view by highlighting the importance of every aspect of the environment. So, in biology, the problem with humans is their tendency to be human-centric instead of biocentric. They want to control, manipulate, and exploit everything in nature. Human-centric views often lead to either overly romanticizing or dominating the earth. On the other hand, a biocentric perspective shifts the focus away from humans and explores the intricate relationship between humans and the non human world. Eco-criticism in Indian English literature. So there are so many Indian English writers who mainly focus on the theme of eco-criticism in their work. Anita Desai's Fire on the Mountain is a prime example of eco-critical content. It addresses the problem of animal killing, overpopulation, and the moral decline of humanity. All of which pose a threat to the environment symbolized by frequent forest fires. Kamla Markandeya's Nectar in CV illustrates how the consequences of industrialization disrupt the harmonious life of a labor. In Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things portrays the exploitation of nature for progress and modernization as a central theme in the novel. And last one, Amitav Ghosh, The Hungry Tide delivers a powerful eco-critical message by highlighting the complex relationship between people and the environment. In Gujarati literature, there is a work by Dhruv Bhatt Akupar, which also mainly deals in the theme of friendship between human and nature, how they live with animals. So this work mainly deals with the theme of eco-criticism approach. Eco-criticism in Indian cinema. So India is mostly known for its biodiversity, like a Himalayan mountain to southern Kanyakumari. We have different environment, and these are some movies which deals with the eco-criticism. Neela Madhav Panda, Padma Shri award-winning director, addresses environmental and ecological issues in his film. There are two notable films by him. कौन कितने पानी में, which is released in 2015, which satirical tackles water secretary in India, and Kadwi Hawa, which is released in 2017, which encourages viewer to think about their impact on the environment. And there is a Uttarakhand in North India because of climate change and corporate encroachment. There are so many issues in Uttarakhand. So this film Kedarnath, which is released in 2013, which talk about the Uttarakhand, India, particularly affecting the town Kedarnath. Natural calamity was in really a result of human-induced global warming, and South Indian film, Tamil film Kadan is a film about protecting nature, elephants, specifically from overdevelopment. And this movie is directed by Prabhu Solomon. So Narmada Bachao Andolan in countries that have gained independence from colonial rule, indigenous people still face problems that are like colonialism from within. These indigenous communities are often pushed aside and allow their land to mining and development. This is not only affect their life but also harms the environment, similar to the what happened during external colonialism. So in colonialism, people are affected by colonized Britisher, but after the independence, people are affected by the corporate encroachment and the people who are in power positions. So this example is from the this perspective, Narmada Bachao Andolan, which is Andolan in Gujarat, Narmada River Conservation Movement, the construction of large dams along the Narmada River by the Indian government and multinational corporations has led to the displacement of indigenous communities and irreversible environmental damage. There is one Gujarati work by Dhruv Bhatt, Tatvamasi, which also talks about Reva, Narmada, but novel doesn't talks about the sand mining and this issue of Narmada River. So we can observe that writer is silent about some issues which are happened in Gujarat Narmada. So conclusion towards a sustainable future. Ecocriticism is a broad interdisciplinary approach that draws from various academic theories with emerging theories like postcolonial ecocriticism and ecofeminism. What sets it apart, it is Earth-centered perspective, seeing the planet as a complete ecosystem rather than just a social space. Unlike self-centered views, ecocriticism promotes eco-consciousness, offering a deeper understanding of our role in the natural world and how we should responsibly coexist with it. So, in order to ensure a sustainable future, it is imperative that we collectively embrace eco consciousness and actively collaborate to address the pressing environment challenges we face. Our efforts today will shape the well being of our planet and the prospects for future generations. So this how we spread awareness about ecological issue, environmental issue, and we try to save our planet Earth. These are the references. Now I'm open for question answer session.
Insia, how does eco-criticism make people more eco-conscious today?
So eco-criticism is mainly deals with the relationship between nature and human. So if we spreading awareness about this issue, then we can make save our planet Earth, and through the eco consciousness, we save the nature and other natural life, and we save our planet Earth also.
So, in my question is that are the portrayal of this ecological concern referred in the movies and literary works marginalized within the landscape of Indian like work and cinema, literature? So, what are the possible solutions towards it? Because in movies, like in Tattvamasi, also this ecological concern are marginalized, where the other story is being much developed. Same is happening in other literary forms as well. So, what are the like key factors and possible solution towards this eco-criticism?
Okay, nice question. So, if we trying to spread awareness about this issue and educated the new generation, then we find a solution about it, and this issue is we need to highlight this issue more. So that for with helping highlighting this issue, we find that. Writers and literature movie makers who directors of movies, so they highlight this issue in their work. It's happened after we spread awareness about this issue. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mansi Gujadiya. In a third day of presentation, I will discuss about a post-colonial study in Bollywood. Here is my personal information. And first, we are discuss about what is a post-colonial study and theory. Post-colonial theory is a body of thought primarily concerned with according to, for the political, aesthetic, economic, historical, and social impact of European colonial rule around the world in the 18th through the 20th century. Post-colonial theory take many different shapes and interventions. The prefix post-colonial theory has been rigorously debated, but it has never implied that colonialism has ended. Post-colonialism is a critical academic study of the cultural, political, and economic legacy of colonialism and imperialism, focusing on the impact of human control and exploitation of colonized people and their lands. Post-colonial theory has influenced the way we read text, the way we understand national and transnational histories, and the way we understand the political implications of our own knowledge as a scholar. First, we are discuss about Lagan movie. Lagan, once upon a time in India, 2001 Indian Hindi language epic musical sports drama film, written and directed by Ashutosh Govarikar. The film was produced by Amir Khan, who started alongside debutant Gracie Singh and British actor Russell Shelley and Paul Blackthorne in set in 1893 during the late Victorian period of India's colonial British Raj. The film follows the inhabitants of a village in central India who burdened by high tax and several years of drug are challenged by an arrogant British Indian Army officer to a game of cricket as a wager to avoid paying a tax they own. The villagers face uh, arduous task of learning a game that is aligned to them to play for a victory. Now we are discuss about subaltern studies, Bollywood and Lagan. The popular Bollywood film with their appear to the mass audience of uprooted peasant factory workers, the employed and uneducated and poor can decolonize the imagination of the Indian masses. It points out that Lagan's offers at indignation and in, interrogation of prescribed discourse of modernity and history deserve credit for making possible to create creation of public debates within a culture where the majority of the population is non-literate and is unable to partake in elite discussion of culture and modernity. The male narrator voice at the end of Lagan suggested that the movie's project has been to recover the experience of a specific and distinction historical practice of a subaltern group, which has been lost or hidden by the process of elitist historiography. Resilient Rosalind O. Henlon identifies a basic model of explanation beneath the tremendous variety in empirical materials of the subaltern studies historian. A longer tradition of explanation of or a shorter term economic dislocation, which provokes resistance and rebellions, challenging landlords or agents of the state that appropriation or destruction uh, of the sign and instruments of their authority authority. Lagan movie followed the similar pattern. Now we are discuss about reading cricket fiction in the times of Hindu nationalism and farmer society. This is a post-colonial theories attempt to read the cricket nationalism portrait in a Oscar-nominated Bollywood film Lagan as one of that subverb the civilizing mission of British colo- colonial, colonialism and also restore the agency of the subaltern class. Instead, it will argue that the cricket nationalism replicated Indian bourgeoisie nationalism, which has not a place for the subaltern in its imaginary. It will also argue that the post-colonial thesis of decolonization and indigenization of cricket, supposedly achieved by Lagan, is a marked by a culturalism that does not take into account factors such as a capital, class, and caste that dominate the institution of cricket in India. Finally, against post-colonial thesis, tendency to read a text in isolation from the context. It will be contended that the cricket nationalism of the film can not be understood by locating it in a relation of presence, socio-historical conjunction, whether in forces of capital and nationalism are hegemonic, uh, resistant and independence. Ashutosh Goswarikar's Lagan is epic essay on cricket, the British Empire and the collective will of a group of villagean farmers. The film joined the ranker of the elite group of Indian films to be nominated for an academic award. Lagan quickly acquired to acquired the label of contemporary classes and revived the career of film star Amir Khan. It offered a delight and critically engaged study of a film. It cover areas such as audience response to the film, representation of British Raj, colonialism and imperialism, song and dance as a narrative storyteller, the ideological value of religion, and a sports film as a vehicle of explanation national concern. Now we are discuss about the post-colonial theme in Lagan movie. In this film, the colonizer are portrayed as a center of the superpower, and the colonizer portrayed as the other. It gives the colonized the perception that they are inferior to the colonizer. England was one of the superpower during colonization in India, and this is very evidence in the film. For instance, in the movie, the or antagonist Captain Russell is the decision maker, and the villagers have no other choice but to follow them. There is a cultural tradition that cuts through Gillis Dan to cricket. The rejection of white femininity is highly apprehensive here. The religious story is added perhaps as an attempt to make a sense of relationship that's about colonialism without use of colonialism. In other words, it's trying to discuss the facts that is about race and colonialism by using a religion as an alternate framework. Elizabeth represents the goodness of colonization, and Rochelle, on the other hand, represents the evilness of colonization. The winner of the match at the end constructs the overall view of decolonization. Now we are discuss a leadership lesson from we are learning in this movie. Look at problems as an opportunity. The British ruler Captain Russell offered a deal to Bhuvan. The deal was to play a cricket match against the Englishmen. It term team Bhuvan won. They would waive the tax for the next 3 years. It is a Britishers. If the Britishers won, then they would triple the tax amount. This was the main move the villagers who did not know the games. Although extremely risk, Bhuvan accepted the challenge. He took it as an opportunity to bring freedom for tax for the entire province. Have a clear vision. When Bhuvan accept the challenge, his vision was 3 years of no tax. The villagers thought that it was impossible to learn an alien game to play to win it. But that is how dreams started, don't they? It always seems impossible until it is done. In this case, he not only dream about winning, he also put a place a clear strategy to make his dream a reality. Post-colonial and post political resistance. The post-colonial and political resistance are portrayed in the movie Lagan. Before digging the roots of the film, it is important to have a glance at a historical and political background. The Britishers set foot in Indian soil for trade, and later they colonized the entire country. Uh, Lagan is a recollection of the past history of India, set in a village area inhabited with locals. They play their part by resisting the tax imposed by the Britishers by challenging them in a game of cricket. Lagan is also fictional setting in the Never Aligned except. In a conclusion, the film Lagan serves as a compelling lens through which to explore the post-colonial narrative in Bollywood cinema. It is not only capture the struggle of cultural present preservation and resistance against Bollywood colonial rules, but also symbolize the border quest for independence in India. Through its cinematic elements and narrative, Lagan contributes to the discourse on post-colonial in Indian cinema, making it in significance and provoking works that resonate with audience both in India and around the world. Uh, Here is my work citation, and thank you. Now you can ask a question.
Mansi, how does the movie Lagan describe the challenges and themes related to India's history during colonial rule? So describe it in brief.
Okay. Lagan movie set in 1983, that 1893. That time, our India is not and independent, and that time we can see. That time this movie set in, that's why we can see uh, cricket theme related to the Indian history during colonial rule.
Mansi, analyzing the significance of cricket as a post-colonial symbol in Lagan.
Okay. Basically, cricket is in this movie. Basically, cricket is a symbol of struggle. That main our in this movie, main character Bhuvan was struggling and try to win this match. So we can say that cricket is a, significance in a post-colonial symbols in Lagan. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Dabhi Nirali, and today is the third day of our presentation on the paper of post-colonial studies. For this, I am choosing the topic comparative study of Robinson Crusoe and Foe. This is my academic and personal information. This is the table of content. The writer of Foe, Jem Koetzi, full name of Jem Koetzi, John Maxwell Koetzi. He was born in February 9, 1940, Cape Town, South Africa, and he was a South African novelist, critic, and a translator. For noted his novel about the effect of colonization. In 2003, he won the Nobel Prize for Literature. These are some his works. Daniel Defoe, born in 1660 in London, and he was an English novelist, pamphleteer, and a journalist. By his middle 30s, Daniel was calling himself Defoe, and probably reviving a variant of what may have been the original family name. And these are the words of him. The introduction of both the verse Robinson Crusoe and Foe. Robinson Crusoe is published in 1719. This is the pioneer adventure novel that recounts the tale of Robinson Crusoe's mariner stranded on the deserted Iceland, and therefore it was penned in 1986, and this is the post-colonial novel. and it reimagining of Robinson Crusoe. It presents the story of Susan Barton and another castaway on the deserted Iceland, and her interaction with a writer named Mr. Foy. Uh, Examine issue of colonization and the manipulation of narrative. Uh, Michel Shepman is in his writing of politics as typical with his uh, dismissive comment. He write in our knowledge of the human suffering on our own doorstep of thousands of detainees who are denied recourse to the rule of law, for does not so much speak to Africa as provide a kind of master battery release in this country for the Europeans' dreams of an intellectual quadri. This is the character chart, and in the four there are four characters, and Robinson Crusoe there are three characters. Comparing the both novels, in the comparison, the Friday character in the both the novels, the similar name of the character Friday is a handsome Carib youth with a quasi Europe feature, but in the four, and he is a black African. Info Friday, like Susan Barton, remains a constant presence, even accompanying her to England and resident in Foyson. In the day first Friday, who learned European language and adopted Christianity from Crusoe. And he is also symbolizing a clear colonized role, and coexist Friday is enigmatic, notably due to his missing tongue. According to Direct Attridge, he suggests that in post-colonization reading, Friday's silent info is viewed as a protest against being a mere ventriloquist tool. This silence serves as a powerful allegorical statesman, underscoring the inherent contrasting of colonial discourse even in critical and feminist revolution. The Robinson Crusoe is a colonial novel, and the Four is the post-colonial novel. This is the main difference in both the novels. While Robinson Crusoe is the main character and narrator, the story from a first-person perspective in Defoe's novel, and the Susan Barton is a woman who narrates the Four. Friday retains the same name in Four as the Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe's name is changed into Crusoe in the Four, which marks the first in a series of differences between the character of Crusoe in Four and Robinson Crusoe, both the novel. The Robinson Crusoe is much more in tune with his own reality and interested in his own accomplishment than Four's Crusoe. The both novels in the character Friday represent a character who undergoes transformation in the both the novels. In Robinson Crusoe, he adopts European culture and religion. But in the Four, Friday is portrayed as a figure who challenges conventional narrative and defies easy classification due to his missing tongue. This is the article which I taken for this topic. His story and her story, comparative study of Robinson Crusoe and Four. In the both the novel, the narrator and protagonist are both the different. In the Robinson Crusoe, the Crusoe is the male character who lead the whole the novel, and He is the also narrator of this novel, and in the four, the Susan Barton was the narrator of this novel. Robinson Crusoe, the eponymous protagonist of the novel, in the four female character in it, and also the narrator of the novel, Susan Barton. Beside making up for absence of female in the Defoe's text, and serves coexist text in a variant of the way. One tells the story of a male castaway, Robinson Crusoe, who turns out to be a powerful colonial patriarch, completely avoiding the existence of woman, and the other tell in the other novel, it tell the story of Susan Barton, a female castaway and she's introducing by Coetzee into the world of Crusoe. Coetzee portrayed a more feminist viewpoint throughout, incor- incor- incorporating Susan Barton. Her decision and a mindset raised a debate in how they relate to the life of a woman in the 20s or even 21st century. uh, the similarities in the both the novels. The Friday retains the same name info as a Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe's name in change into the Crusoe. Four provides a post-colonial perspective and critique on the theme present in the original Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is a marooned on a desert Iceland, while Susan Barton finds himself and stranded on the similar island. Robinson Crusoe is presented as a personal journey, and Foe is a reflective narrative where Susan Barton seeks to share her story. The survival changes in both novels. Robinson Crusoe's solitary existence on the deserted island symbolizes the quintessential suggest against the element, the harsh empowerment and solitude, while Susan Barton's shipwrecks info echoes this primal battle for survival. And in the similarly, Susan Barton's ordeal info portrayed a different facet of survival. Her quest to share her story, assert her voice, and secure a place in the world mirrors the contemporary battle of recognition and respectation. The survival changes in our current time, and this is connect with the survival change in the both the novels. The increased this is the one picture from the isolation when COVID time. The increased reliance on social media and digital communication during the COVID-19 pandemic highlight the theme of isolation in the digital age. And also in the both the novel, isolation are there. The character longing for connection info mirrors contemporary feeling of isolation in virtual spaces. The second point from the isolation, the man who is isolated in the one's Iceland, the story of Iron Ralston, who survived a canyoning accident in Utah by amputating his own arm, and parallels the character resourcefulness in the novel. Just as Crusoe crafted tools from his surrounding, and Ralston used his gear and wits to survive. The movie adaptation of Robinson Crusoe and also related with Foe. The director of the movie, Theriot Shebret, and this is the movie adaptation from, and it is also the TV series 2003. And this is the classic story with different narrative, and it's unrelated to Defoe's work. And the difference from the novel, it is important to note that this film takes creative liberties with the source material, with the character names and the basic premise are retained. The narrative differs significantly from Defoe's novel. In conclusion, folk can be seen as a deconstruction and a re-interpretation of Robinson Crusoe, while both novels sharing a common starting point, and they diverge significantly in terms of narrative perspective and themes and their treatment of colonial and post-colonial issues. For challenges the colonial narrative of Robinson Crusoe and explores the consequences of colonialization and the silencing of margination voices. This is the references.
Nirali, how do the survival challenges faced by the character in Robinson Crusoe and Foe find resonance in today's world?
In the both novel, the challenges are faced by the character of the novels, and in the today's world, we face the in base of novels theme, isolation and the isolation in COVID-19, and also we also find the in today's world the example like Robinson Crusoe's struggle and his survival.
Nirali, how these two novels, Robinson Crusoe and Poe, address the concept of otherness and outsider concept of outsider in the characters of Friday, in the character of Friday.
In the both novels, Robinson Crusoe and Defoe address the concept of otherness in the character of Friday. The Friday is the one character who is the similar in the both the novels, and uh, in the both novel the name of the character are same, but there are many different in the his both the novels.
Submitted. No submitted. Pooja also has no submitted. Andy also there. The next one can start. Next, please, next one.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So hello everyone. This is Pooja Bhuva, and this is the third day of semester 3 presentation from the paper number 203, Post-Colonial Studies. I choose the topic Crusoe versus Crusoe, a comparative character analysis. Here are my personal information. Let's see something about the authors. First one is John Coetzee, who was born on 9 February 1940. He won two prizes, Nobel Prizes and Booker Prizes. He was South African Nobel laureate, and these are his works. And now let's say about Daniel Defoe. So he was born on 1660 and died in 1731. He was novelist, journalist, and pamphleter. Here are his some of the important works, and he contributed in the movement of realism. Let's see about the novel from which I took the two main characters. First one is Robinson Crusoe, and second one is Crusoe. So for Robinson Crusoe was written by Daniel Defoe, published in 25 April 1790, and main characters are Robinson Crusoe, Friday, and Zuri. It is post-colonial novel, follows the story and adventure of male character Robinson Crusoe. Now, Foe is written by J.M. Coetzee, published in 1986. These are its main character. It follows the story of female character Susan Barton and experience of her adventure. Then, it is a post-colonial novel. Now let's see Crusoe in Robinson Crusoe, how he played his role in this work. So Crusoe is a protagonist of the novel, and his adventure in the man is the main idea discussed in it. So Daniel Defoe more discussed the idea and adventure of Crusoe in this work. His personality is more curious, resourceful, and determined, which shows how his mind as a colonial person reflect in this work. The central event of this novel is shipwrecked when Crusoe is shipwrecked on deserted island of the coast of South America. So most of the part of his life, he lived on that island, and this story goes on. Crusoe's time on the island forces him to become self-reliant, and he learns to build shelter, make tools, hunt, and cultivated crops. So, more like a good points of Robinson Crusoe showed in this novel. But Crusoe in the novel Foe, Coetzee shows his negative ideas or negative points also. So Crusoe in this foe, he is more like a minor character, not a main character. Similar to Robinson Crusoe, that his survival of a shipwreck. Unlike the detailed background provided in Robinson Crusoe, that most of his life
goes in that island and how he come here and what happened in the end. And that information is lagged in this in Crusoe info. This novel provide the clear account of his life before the does not provide a clear account of his life before the shipwreck. So in 4, Crusoe's character is used to explore theme of colonization, power dynamics, and exploitation. He becomes a symbol of how colonialism and storytelling can distort and silence experience of those who are subjected, as it done with Friday in Robinson Crusoe. So more like Coetzee tested his own medicine to him. Now let's see Robinson Crusoe as a colonial character and how Crusoe is like a post-colonial character. Um, so he's in Robinson Crusoe as a colonial character is more like a great inspirational man for all the English people who followed Daniel Defoe and that time. So upon arriving on deserted island, he takes possession of the island and all his territories and all the goods. He controlled himself. That shows that how his mind work as colonial person and domination in that era. So Crusoe's attitude toward the island's native inhabitants reflects the imperialist mindset of colonial era. So more how Defoe thinks he reflect in the Robinson Crusoe's character. But in Crusoe is like a post-colonial character that Coetzee totally changed his character from powerful character to a really minor or a very depressed type of character the who doesn't have a particular story or his own life in this world. So Crusoe, the character who inhabits the same island as original Robinson Crusoe, but Coetzee takes liberty with his portrayal like a parodical work. So Coetzee's portrayal of Crusoe underscore how colonial perspective distort and erase the voice and experience of those who are colonized. So his character and experience are little subjected like a subaltern type that in Robinson Crusoe, Defoe didn't give voice or main thoughts to the Friday, but in 4, Coetzee did the same with Crusoe and criticize Foe's idea of this Englishness and all Eurocentrism. Now, let's see the final ideas, some of the important similarities and differences in these both works. So, in the end of the Robinson Crusoe, we get to know that Robinson Crusoe get rescued and return to its civilization, but in his life or his fate is left unresolved, and therefore central on survival and self-reliance. That how after so many difficulties, this character of Robinson Crusoe survived. But in 4, Coetzee explored the theme of narration of what the colonized people who are colonized and power, how this power work. Readers, in this Robinson Crusoe, we are left to think about what happened after Crusoe went to its civilization. But in 4, we didn't even know that is Crusoe alive or dead. In this novel, Defoe wrote about the character development. We can see the Robinson Crusoe's development as a character, but in the novel, 4, we cannot see much more information about it. It is more concentrated on the character of Susan and give proper description. Did not give the proper description of Crusoe. Here are some main ideas that it found that Defoe is believed to have drawn inspiration from the actual experience of Alexander Selkirk. Now, this 2 point that Robinson Crusoe follows the idea of nationalism, Eurocentrism, Englishness, or coloniality, but 4 has the ideas of post-coloniality, subaltern thoughts, and deconstruction of Defoe's Eurocentrism. In his work, he also criticized the character of Defoe or his surname Defoe as he described the character of Foe, the writer, I guess, Foe in Foe novel. Yeah, so this is all for my presentation. Here are my references. Thank you. Now stage is open for questions.
Mansi.
Pooja, how do the character of Crusoe and Robinson Crusoe influence the narrative?
Okay. So this is also a kind of comparison of these two characters. Character of Crusoe in Foe, not directly but indirectly, Koetsi made him affect or influence the narration of the main idea. That and in Robinson Crusoe, he is the main protagonist. So all the narration based on his idea, but by doing this, uh, by doing his voice of Crusoe down it, he also tell that how colonized people feel when Robinson Crusoe does the same thing. So yeah, here it influenced directly, but in Crusoe we can say that it is affect indirectly. Thank you.
Pooja, how we connect this both character in our syllabus in a different way?
Okay. More than syllabus, I think we have to connect it with both each other's works, or how the thoughts of Defoe affect the thoughts of Coetzee, in not positive way, I guess, but for criticism. That Coetzee also criticized his works, these characters, not only this Crusoe character, but also the character of male and female perspective. He changes that idea in it, so we can connect it in manner of criticism, not in that way. Yeah, thank you.
Because it's still not found here, not uploaded. So last you take the last turn and see that it is done properly. Next one.
So may I start? Uh, Hello everyone, I'm Rajeshwari, and on the third day of the presentation session, I'm dealing with the topic Gandhi and Fanon, uh, Divergent Paths of Decolonialism. This is my academic information and the table of content. So first of all, in this presentation, I will give some basic information about Franz Fanon and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. So Franz Fanon, he was coming from France, and his timeline was 1925 to 1961, and he himself was a psychologist and philosopher. So we can see the effect of as a psychiatric effect also shown in his works, and colonialism and racism. So in his many works, the context of race and colonial power, how it works, it's also shown in his works. And his major works are The Wretched of the Earth, Black Skin, White Mask are considered his prominent work in this field of post-colonial era, and the violence and decolonialization. So the idea of violence is his basic idea in his all works, and the influence his influence. So he was influenced many people after the in the post-colonial era to decolonize from the colonial people, and his legacies are the same way he was the considered as the very huge name in the post-colonial era. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, as we all know, known as Mahatma Gandhi, and he was born in Porbandar in 1869, and he himself was working during the Britishers when they are rule over the India, and his education and the non-violence resistance, the both the different idea with the Fanon and the Gandhi. So in Indian independence, the struggle of independence, his leadership is on the non-violent side, and he was against the violence. And the legacy, so Gandhi's legacy is significant both in India, and even as we all know, he was known as worldwide. When we are remember as non-violence at that time, the Gandhi should be there. So in this first paragraph, there is the given the what is the similarity of this both personalities. So as we can say, these two men are not world apart from each other in the outlook on their lives. So both grow up in the under rule of colonial power, and Fanon's French controlled Martipin, and Gandhi in the British controlled India. As we all know, in India there is a British colonial power as a ruler, and the Franz Fanon, he was from France, but he was actively participated in Algerian this decolonized process. So there is the rule of France is over the Algeria, and he was a active person to give the freedom to the Algeria. So ultimately the different colonial powers are there, but the colonialism is there, and the both men recognize the need for the colonized peoples to reject the culture of their colonial masters and embrace their indigenous heritage. So this how they both have in the similar condition, but their reaction is itself a very different, and we can say it's a vice versa reaction. So because the violence is and non-violence are very opposite with each other. So two anti-colonial figures, Mohandas Gandhi and Franz Fanon, are not worthy in that the integrated this complex and often fraught relationships between the decolonization, violence, and agency, and Gandhi's influence on India's national building, as well as if we are seeing the Algeria and the Africa, there is the influence of Franz Fanon over these countries, and we have under the influence of the Gandhi. During the independence struggle of India, there were the many other freedom fighters are also there. Those who are on the side of violence in India, but the still in the why the Gandhi is accepted worldwidely that we all know. And in the work The Wretched of the Earth, Franz Fanon, he himself told about a lot about the violence and the use of violence in the process of decolonialism. So Franz theory also makes a normative one. Violence is an important morally justifiable. If we all know, somehow the violence is not as justified act by anyone, but according to Fanon, it is morally justifiable and justifiable tool in achieving national liberation. This shifted the focuses on his argument from the determination to the agency of the front in the deliberation national. So during the in the time of the 1945, he was actively participated in this and political things. So he is one of the friend. He was involved in this the fight against the France, and his own influence on his. So we can say the idea of political things are also reflect in his works, and as I have said, the psychologies also reflect in his work. In this work, Franz Fanon, The Wretched of the Earth, there are 5 chapters, and in every chapter he was given some arguments to fight against this kind of things, against the decolonization system. And a number of scholars have made claims that in the work of Wolf Fanon uses this the term violence in way ranging from the most liberal to the most symbolic meaning. So, as we all know, in his work, The Wretched of the Earth, the first chapter is named On Violence, and in this work, he was openly telling about the violence, and the word violence itself also comes in this work many times. So, the first chapter is a very long chapter of this original one. So we can say the violence is, he was saying about violence openly in his works also. So Franz Fanon, the instrument for decolonialization, the violence is the first step for him, and it's also mentioned in his work "Wretched of the Earth" as in the first chapter, and then is the spontaneity, and the other third, fourth chapter as also there is the given step by step. Things are also given, and in the first chapter he was telling deal with some psychological effect after this colonial rule over the both the colonizers and colonized people. And non-violency martiality. So if we are seeing in the context of the Gandhi, so he was against the violence, and on the side of against the non-violence, and on the side of the non-violence. He was himself given the idea of satyagraha. So satyagraha, according to Gandhi, who originated a term, means the force which is born of the truth and love of non-violence. It involves the belief that the self-suffering is the only true and effective means to securing lasting reform and triumph over the opponent. So we all know about the satyagrahas. There is the act of doing some kind of reaction, but not the violence. And here the Gandhi himself explained in his that is the second paragraph. It's in his in original words by Mohandas Gandhi. So Gandhi used the martiality, but in a non-violence manner. And here are this some non-violence movements are the. This is not all list down is not here, but this is some the major events are happening in the non-violence movements are happening in India during British rule. So, non-violence, if globally youth must be powered to be resilient to the violence, if we are saying how we evoke people to take the side of non-violence, not the violence. So, it is, I have found one article from the UNESCO website. So here is the given to educate the young generation in a way so they are believe in non-violence instead of violence. So the education system it's takes a very vital role in this type of the building up the youths. So and they teach them the humanity as the whole thing. So we can say the answer is also comes from the humanity itself. And here is the one sentence that is for Mahatma Gandhi from the Secretary General U and Than said. So he was told something for the Gandhi. So the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi have profoundly influenced movement in other parts of the world, including the civil rights movement in the US, and his philosophy, the meaning of significant beyond the confines of his country or of his time. So it is the original quotation by the given to the Gandhi, as we can say, in the favor of the Gandhi. So if we all know, if we are saying, so if we are take the side of the Fanon, so itself it's a problematic side to the take side of violence. And here the this is from the Amritya Sen. He was the scholar and a Nobel laureate from the Anglo-Indian himself, and got a Nobel prize in the his works in the economics. So he himself told, so we all have the colonial rule over it, but at that time we in during in our society many changes are come. So during the colonial power, British power, there are the at that time Raja Ram Mohan Rai is there, Swami Vivekanand is there. Those they are studying in this British education system, and done some significant changes in the society. In the Raja Ram Mohan Rai, the Sati Pratha is there, child marriages is there. At that time, he was give the contribution to remove this type of bad rituals and bad things from the society. And we can say that the railway is from the Britishers that we have in India. Now we have the very long route of the railway lines in comparison of the other countries. So we can say some positive things are also happening, and we all know some bad aspects are also from there, but we don't have need to forget this positive thing. If we are seeing the different and diverse type of decolonial system, at that time we can say the finance idea, if we are applied finance idea, at that time what happened, we have the throughout the everything, if it is good or if it is bad. But the idea of the non-violence and that India has take the side. So we are try to grasp the positive things from the colonial people and the Britishers in our India to grow up in a very positive manner for the further democracy. So if we can say the idea of Fanon and the Gandhi are the verses. So despite these similarities, Fanon and Gandhi arrived at very different conclusions when pondering the paths of independence for the colonized people of the world. Their differences center not just on the effectiveness of violence versus non-violence in decolonialization. If we are seeing, as the finance says, they are the out persons, those who are come in our country and rule over it. At that time, if we are seeing in the America, those American people are things, the black people are not the originally from our country, but we can say the white people are itself not the originally from the America. The red Indians, or also it's called the Native Americans, are those who are the tribal. They are the original right of this the overland. So in this way, the everyone is the colonizers, we can say. In if we are seeing in the context of India, there is the at the south side we have Dravidian people, and if we are saying in the north side, so there is some Aryan peoples are there, those who are not originally from India but comes to the India and take the land of the other people, and now they are in the south side of India. So in a way, the all people are colonized people. If we are seeing each other as the colonized, so everyone is beating each other in the for the sake of you colonized us, you colonized us. So if we are saying some ancienters of the we can say, if I have killed them because they have make some violence on our ancientors, or we can say, so the ultimate answer is the non-violence. We can say if we are getting something from the path of non-violence, at that time we can say it is the solution for this all bad practices. Uh, in conclusion, in modern times, non-violence methods have been a powerful tool for social protest and revolutionary social and political changes. If we want some changes at that time, the non-violence is the best tool to protest anything. Okay. Thank you. And this is my references that I have taken. Now I'm up for question answer.
So, Rajeshvariba, my question is that how did the Gandhi and panel have different ideas about ending colonial rule, and what reasons they led them to choose separate paths in fighting against colonial oppression? As Gandhi uses non-violence and Fanon more focuses on this non-violence. That's so. It's
Nice question, Trushali. How did Gandhi and Fanon have the different ideas to overcome this the same situation of the colonialism? So we can say the Gandhi is, if we are saying everyone's personal life, so everyone's is influenced personally. It is very different thing. If the same thing is happening with you and me, so maybe the reaction is different both of us. So in the same way, their political influence, the Fanon is influenced by whom, and the Gandhi is influenced by whom, their early life and their personal beliefs are plays the vital roles of their the side, what they are taken, the side of the violence or the non-violence.
So, Rajeshwari, as you say in your presentation, did the strategies or idea of Gandhi and Fanon evolve over time, or just stay put in that time when it happened?
So, if the strategy and those who have done, it is according to time. If there is those, those who are in power, if they are the side of non-violence, at that time the Gandhi is celebrated a lot. And if those who are in power, if they don't like the idea of non-violence, at that time maybe the Fanon is celebrated a lot. So after the time to time, the things and the people who are changing their mindset, self mindset, so the things are dependent on the time, what is happening and what is not happening. Thank you.
Can I start, sir? Hello everyone, I am Riddhi Rathod. Today I am today presentation. Today third day of our presentation. I choose the topic on wide surrogacy with feminist approach. Here is a table of content which I am present in my presentation. First of all, introduction of Jane Iron. Jane Iron was born in 1819. Jane Iron, he was a British novelist who was born and grew up in the Caribbean island. She was novelist, short story writer, and essayist. She was writing under the genre of modernism and postmodernism. She was a famous for Good Morning, Midnight, and White Sargasso uh, novel introduction. The novel was published in 1966 with a post-colonial point of view. White Sargasso is both a response feminist prequel to Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre, which was published in 1847. Antoinette Cosway is a rice version of bronze devilish mad woman in the attic. Antoinette is caught in a patriarchal society in which she fully belongs neither to Europe nor to Jamaica. The story explores the power of relationship between men and women. The novel also explored Caribbean history and assimilation. The setting of novel in Jamaica. What is a feminist approach? A feminist approach is like looking at the world through glasses that focus on making things fair for everyone, no matter if they are a man, a woman, or something else. It tries to fix the things that are unfair to women and make sure everyone has the same chances in life. It is about speaking up for equal rights and changing the rules that have been unfair to women for a long time. Ayer's personal experience that shaped her feminist perspective. Ayers faced personal challenges and struggles, including financial difficulties, troubled relationship, and sense of displacement as a immigrant in England. This experience likely contributed to her feminist perspective. In her writings, she often explored the hardship faced by women, their lack of agency, and the constraint imposed by society. Her own struggle may have sensitized her to the feminist issues of her time, and her works reflect the injustice and challenges women faced in a patriarchal world. Themes of gender and power in White Sargasso, let's see, patriarchy and oppression. The novels illustrate how patriarchal system limit the agency and freedom of female characters, particularly Antoinette and her mother Annette. They are controlled and oppressed by male authority figures. Second was sexual exploitation. The male characters, such as Mr. Rochester, exercise power through sexual exploitation. These mirrors the broader theme of women's vulnerability in patriarchal society. Third one is colonization and racism. Feminism is a wide surrogacy. She is intertwined with post-colonialism. The power of dynamics and intersect with gender, particularly affecting Creole women of color like Christopher, who face double oppression due to both their gender and race. Madness and identity. The power of imbalances contribute to the psychological distress and instability of female characters, most notably Antoinette. Her struggles with identity and sanity are a consequence of her marginalized position as a woman. Feminist analysis of the novel reveals the complex interplay of gender and power, highlighting how women are disempowered and oppressed in patriarchal and colonial society. This analysis emphasizes the importance of examining an intersection of gender, race, and colonialism in understanding the character's experience.
patriarchy oppressing female characters. In White Sargasso She, female characters like Antoinette and her mother Annette are subjected to patriarchal oppression. They are denied agency and independence. Instead, they are controlled by male figures such as Mr. Mason and Mr. Rochester and even Christopher. These men dictate the women's lives, making a decision about their marriage, their home, and their financial matters. This control reinforces traditional gender roles where women are expected to be submissive and obedient. Enantan, Anantant Cosway is the protagonist of Wild Sargasso She. She is a complex character born into the Creole family in Jamaica during the post-colonial period. She is of mixed racial heritage, which sets her apart in a society marked by racial hierarchies. Antoinette identity and struggle. Antoinette grapples with her identity and the constraint placed upon her gender. She is seen as an outsider both within her family and in her marriage to Mr. Rochester. As a Creole man, she faces discrimination and marginalized. Her struggle is not only against the confines of her gender, but also the intersection of race and class, which exacerbate her vulnerability and isolation. This intersectionality makes her compelling character in the novel, reflecting the broader issues of identity and power within the story. The othering of women in this novel, women of color, particularly Christopher, are othered. They are seen as a different, exotic, and inferior by the white characters due to their racial backgrounds. This othering leads to their marginalization and disempowerment. Female characters, including Antoinette and Annette, are dehumanized and objectified, treated as objects rather than individual with agency. This reflects the broader issues of racial and gender discrimination within the novel. Female relationship. The female relationship the relationship between female characters are complex. While there are moments of support and solidarity among female characters like Antoinette and Christophine, there are also instances of tension and distrust. The colonial and patriarchal society often forces women to internalize a societal expectation, impacting how they interact with and support to undermine each other. These relationships reflect the broader issue of gender and power dynamics within the novel. Madness and femininity. The novel portrayal of female characters' mental health, and particularly death of Antoinette, is a central theme. Antoinette's mental health deteriorates throughout the novel, and her descent into madness is a response to the oppressive environment and her personal struggles. She grapples with isolation, a sense of displacement, and lack of control over her own life. Her mental state is exacerbated by societal expectation and power imbalances, reflecting the damaging impact of patriarchy and colonization on women's mental well-being. The novel offers a poignant exploration of the psychological distress and disability faced by female characters, particularly Antoinette, as a consequence of their marginalized position and the constraints placed of them by society. Conclusion. The feminist analysis of wide surrogacy uncovers gender oppression, power imbalances, and the othering of women. It is relevant in a feminist literature for its critique of patriarchal colonial society, encourage further study of feminist themes in the novel, such as by examining scholarly articles or joining discussing on gender issues in literature. Here is references.
Riddhi, can we say that the portrayal of motherhood and the role of mother and daughter relationship in white surrogacy fits within the context of feminist literature?
Yes, Antoinette and Annette, mother and daughter, both treats by both are controlled by men, and she treats like uh, treats like treats like treats like in both treats by men, and both men has more power than woman in this novel, and uh, mother and daughter portrays as
Riddhi, what role does operation play in the depiction of female badness in the novel?
patriarchal oppression means men have more power and control than women. Antoinette controlled by men and controlled by men and men has men more power than women, and Antoinette unfair treatment by men, and these patriarchal oppression was most patriarchal oppression is uh, most patriarchal oppression most significant role in the novel, because patriarchal oppression treatment this treatment controlled woman, and it's a treatment affect to woman.
Hello everyone, I am Rinkal, and at this third day of presentation, I am going to present on the topic theme of alienation and madness in white Sargasso Sea. So here I so uh, there are my today's topic is alienation and madness in white Sargasso Sea. These are my academic details. Introduction of the writer. So here, Rice is who has written this novel, and she was uh, she was really very famous for her narrative technique, like using themes, and using stream of consciousness, and also highly emotional emotions of human psyche. So she is famous for her narrative style and writing, and she has often been praised for her writing style. And here theme of alienation and madness in white Sargasso Sea. So as we all are aware of that, white Sargasso Sea is a novel which is questioning meta narrative of Bronte's Jane Eyre, and here uh, has given one view on her article, that to begin with, there are two symbols like which are describing the theme of alienation and madness, like there is sea and attic. So they both are having the center of showing human psyche, like currents in sea, and all the flows of tide, and all diversions of sea, like human mind is having the same. And another one is attic, where this internet was uh, imprisoned by Rochester. Then here also the same point is like Atlantic Ocean, white Sargasso Sea is situated at, and like this human psyche is reflected like this sea. And also complex nature of currents and like human thoughts. The emergence of madness. How this madness is emerging in the novel. So one day, young Antoinette is narrating the first part of the novel, and she is narrating like one day a young girl following me singing, "Go white cockroach, go go," and she started walking fast, and but she walked faster. White cockroach, go go. Nobody wants you here. So even her friend Tia was calling her like white nigger. So derogatory she was calling her, even though she was white. Rice establishes a world in which everything rests in problematic and strained relationship between people and different nationalities, different races and languages, class against which struggle to maintain connection. Even in the family also, like everything is situated in a problematic manner here. Implied madness. So here in the novel, madness is implied by Rochester, and Rochester was at some level enjoying torturing his wife. Like she's mad, but and even though torturing, he was manipulating her. Like she's mad, but my lunatic, my mad girl. So even though she belongs to me, even if she is mad, I'm not gonna free her. And another novel, infamous daughter of an infamous mother. So that is how she was being tortured by people. In Bronte's novel Jane Eyre, like this Bertha's husband was telling, I never loved her, I never esteemed, I didn't even know her. I was not sure of existence of one virtue in her nature. So that is how he describes his wife, that she means nothing to me. And in Jane Eyre's, in Rice novel, Rochester says that it meant nothing to me, nor did she. uh, Anything which happens to this internet, that means nothing to Rochester. She never had anything to do with me at all. So that is how didn't have any care for her. Like she has been objectified here for money, as in the novel has described. Uh, okay, Antoinette fully belongs neither to Europe nor to Jamaica. So she was brought to Europe from Jamaica directly, and she actually belongs to not to anything. She belongs nothing to the ethics contribution to madness and alienation in the novel. So here, ethic is also a symbol of being a symbol of making someone mad or isolated. Like she was imprisoned by her husband, and she was not able to even look at the people or even light or anything outside of the world. So that is how, uh, and even Antony is preserved as mad by her husband. Like she was not actually mad. Someone said that madness is in her blood. Her brother was gone mad, and that is how she will also get mad by inherited disease. Like she will get mad, and that is how Rochester did it, and he cheated upon her because the prime need of Rochester was money, and he was married to her because of the sake of money. Identity and loss, like ethic is symbolizing the loss of identity. Like she didn't even know who she was. She can't feel anything about herself, what she wants to do or what she doesn't want to do. The mad woman in the attic, images of enclose and escape, fantasies in which maddened doubles function as a social surrogates for docile selves, obsessive depictions of disease like anorexia, agoraphobia, and claustrophobia. Like Gilbert and Gubber are arguing in their one of book Mad Women in the Attic, and they are saying like disease are coming because of this kind of imprisonness, and they are also historicizing several female writers and actors and artists of the era of Victorian and upcoming era of this living as an exile in England. Though she was in England and she was living there, she was like she was feeling like she is in exile. Someone has given exile to her to live in England. So psychologically, White Sargasso Sea is vindicates Antoinette and her mother, uh, demonstrating their intelligence, powerful emotion. Like emotionally, Antoinette and her mother both are emotionally really very powerful. Like they are able to understand what they are doing, and then but though they are having some circumstances to do with. Rochester exploits Antoinette financially, uses her, physically manipulates her emotionally, betrays her sexually, tortures her psychologically, and incards her bodily until she commits violent suicide. Even here, he was having an affair with servant wife. Like in Jane Eyre also, he was having an affair with Jane. Like he was married, though he was having an he was even villainizing Bertha actually. And here also it becomes like how Bertha has gone mad, as it is prequel to Jane Eyre. And in White Sargasso Sea also, he had an affair with another woman. And in conclusion, White Sargasso Sea, it is heavily and vividly, it has depicted several theme of alienation and madness, though psychological, uh, psychological implements or themes, and it has depicted human psyche of the characters. And the sea also represent displacement, which is central theme in the novel. So a sea is also like a symbol, like going through sea to another place and coming back, and afterwards also going somewhere else. And like sea is here a symbol of displacement in novel. Here are my references. Thank you. You can ask me questions.
Rinkal, what is the significance of Christopher's character in relation with the themes of alienation and madness.
Okay. Christophine was the surrogate mother of this Antoinette, and that is how when she was departed from her mother, that her mother left her and her brother for she and her newly married husband both get into another place for honeymoon and after marriage, and Christophine is taking care of this Antoinette, and then Antoinette and another she was telling her husband like, you are not taking care of my daughter, and that is how she is maintaining this relationship with her daughter and taking care of.
Rinkal, is there key context of for exploring madness and alienation in exclusively female characters?
uh, to exploring this theme of alienation and madness in exclusively on female characters, like they were objectified, like Victorian female were also themselves were having this mindset like they need to be protected by another person, and their money is not for them, but they need to hand over to someone who is male dominant, right? And they were like doing themselves being objectified, and another person will definitely make them objectify them for the sake of their money, and that is how they were often and time and again were objectified for the money, and time and again this theme of alienation and madness were coming repeatedly in literature and their lives also. So that is it. Thank you.
Why the presentation is still not uploaded?
Okay, well, very good afternoon to everyone. Today, on the third day of the presentation semester 3, I am going to make my presentation on Friday, the muted tongue of the post-colonial world. These are my academic details. These are the points that I'm going to ponder in this presentation. Let us begin with the introduction of the novel itself. So, Foe is a novel written by J.M. Coetzee it is 1986, one is missing, which is set in the early 90th century, which is a post-colonial novel divided in 4 chapters. It is a satirical reinvention of Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, because it cannot be said prequel and sequel, because it is a reinvention of it. And the story is about Susan Barton, the narrator, Friday, and Mr. Fu, writer, to whom Susan is asking to write her story about Friday and her experiences at the island. So, what is post-colonial studies? According to M.H. Abrahams, it is the critical analysis of the history, culture, literature, and modes of discourse, which focuses majorly on the third world countries, the extent to which the social and economic life represented in the literature was tactically underwritten by colonial exploitation. So, post-colonial literature gives a scope of this, the voice that has been suppressed through the during the colonial rules. Friday in Robinson Crusoe and Foe. So in Robinson Crusoe, Friday is a character who is civilized by Crusoe, which has been told in Robinson Crusoe. And the name Friday is also given by Crusoe, the central character, because they met on Friday. So Friday was not having a name before that on that island. And as Hand describes in one of his papers, Crusoe, he tamed Friday with gun, English, and Bible. So Crusoe tries to teach him language and thus religion. So because Crusoe was Canadian there, sorry, Friday, and in Foe, Friday is tongueless. Susan is encountering him on the island where she reached, and there she finds Crusoe and Friday there, and Friday's tongue is cut. So the one question is there that who has cut the tongue of Friday? In the novel, Susan says that in the like your master says the slavers cut it out, but I have never heard of such practice, nor did I ever meet a slave in Brazil who was a dumb. Is the truth that your master cut it out himself and blamed the slavers? So initially this remains the question, who has cut the tongue of him? In the 7th chapter of Stories of Women, Gender and Narrative in Post-Colonial Nation, Elik Bomer talks about that Friday is the representative of enslaved, wholly other, a figure literally silent and made dumb. So in this 7th chapter, Bowman talks about this the concept of otherness in Friday, and Gayatri Spivak also describes Foe as a didactic aid staging the undecidability of margin comment, because Friday is time and again becoming marginalized as well in this. Though Susan is going to, like, she's trying to give him a voice, but he is not having the tongue. So he is given the freedom to speak, but though due to his cutted tongue, he is not able to speak. Friday and his muted tongue, symbolic representation of colonial rule. So colonial violence was there in colonial rule, and after this colonial rule, Friday has given the freedom to speak and express himself, but his tongue is cut by the colonial rule, say by Friday. And it can be also interpreted in the wounds of colonialism as well. Pain is radically incommunicable experience, because the suffering that he had gone through, it cannot be described by Friday, the other interpretation. Muted by his oppressor, refusal to mean within the oppressor's system. So the other interpretation can be like he was not allowed to speak, as in power structure the people lower the power and cannot speak against the authority. So it can be like this. The story of Friday, as Baumer also says, that story of Friday tongue is about a story to be told, or unable to be story is unable to be told or unable to told by me. That is to say, many stories can be told or Friday's tongue, but the true story is buried within Friday, who is mute. The true story will not be heard till by art we found a means of giving voice to Friday. So the story, as Susan tries to give a voice to Friday, but what happens? The story of Friday, what Friday thinks, what he is observing, what he had gone throughout his life is undescribable, because he is unable to speak, unable to express himself. When Susan teaches him to write, he writes O. So his I is never there in the narrative. So it O represents otherness in that. Now, the story of Friday can be compared to the myth of Philomel, which is in Greek, where in the myth of in the Metamorphosis, Ovid also includes it about this myth of Philomel. It is about Greek one, the Greek king Tereu raped Philomel and he, out of guilt, out to hide his crime, he cuts the tongue of Philomel, and like he is doing because if a person, you have done something to that person, and you think and you want that the other person should not speak what you have done to them, so you are cutting down, you are breaking the thing that is the means of expression of someone, but other in the like he is snatching the voice of Philomel. But later in the metamorphosis also there is a episode about Philomel like describing in some other forms. But yes, this the means of expressions are snatched by other person to just like not as they not wanting their stories to be told by that person and their crimes as well. Now let us conclude with this psychological impact, because colonial rule had a very drastic psychological effect on people. Carasilo talks about cognitive psychology. It is about this authorship and all that, but let us try to connect it with the Friday's expression. Friday's expression. According to American Psychological Association, this cognitive psychology means explore our mental process. Cognitive psychology is very much connected with our learning, learning the forms of expression. So, in the this term, in this four, this term is bit against, because Friday, in the third chapter of the novel, it is shown by Susan that she taught him to write. But in the whole novel, we cannot find a single evidence of his expression of himself in writing. So this can be like considered as preconditioned mind. Friday is taught the language by Susan, but though he is not expressing himself in words, it can be interpreted in various ways. Like he is now in a thought process now that he don't want to speak up right now. His mind is conditioned by those colonial people in him, and this can be interpreted in feminist discourse as well, because now female women are getting freedom, but though they are not speaking up about themselves. Why? Because their mind are conditioned. Now they just want that free space, like not free space, but now they just want to get dependent over others. They like not coming out of that zone of this rule. So in the same way, the psychology impact the character of Friday as well. So he is, we can say, is feeling safe under this Susan. And one point should be noted here is that he was told in the story that he was cast away as well. So now he has no way out to go. So it can be interpreted in both the ways. One is his tongue is actually cut by the colonial master Crusoe, and other is that he now don't want to speak up. Now he is feeling safe there. He is not wanting anything from that. So it also shows that his need is being satisfied, so he don't want to speak up that he is not able to understand what is happening with him. Now if we take a literal meaning of this word of Friday's muted tongue, let us compare to that first interpretation with snatching the medium to speak in democracy in Indian context. So under Article 19A 1A, all the citizens of India has given freedom of speech, and one of our four pillars of democracy is media. And though democracy has given right media to speak up in a free way to raises questions against the authority and other things, but at the same time the results is showing other. And as reported by Suhas Pal Shekhar, he talks about various things in article as well, but let us consider this one, that in India Forum, in the past 7 years, there have been more than 40,000 cases of internet shutdowns. Systematic efforts have been undertaken to discipline the media by mounting cases and inquiries against journalists, besides using various regulatory agencies to target media houses. In 2020 itself, 67 journalists were faced arrest and or inquiries, practically turning attack on media into official party. And even most of this in the last 3 years, it is of the ruling. The cases were on the journalists who were speaking against the ruling party. So at the first point, we have given freedom to them, but at the same time, we are cutting their medium of expression through which they are like telling the story. So the role of media is here being cutting down, and many journalists are facing these issues right now. In the current scenario, this media and journalism is talked about a lot. So by concluding this presentation, we can say that Friday is the person who at a one point told a tongueless person, but his silent talks more. As his silence is, like we say, that silence speak more than words. So whether if he is not speaking, but his this tongue talks a lot, because it talks about the sufferings that he had gone through throughout his life. So this is all about my presentations. These are the references. Thank you. Now I'm open for questions.
Trushali, what impact does Friday's lack of voice have on our understanding of his identity and agency within the narrative?
Okay. So Friday, though this in the novel Frozen. Let me do it again. So in the Susan tries to give him voice, but this his cutted tongue and his muted voice tells about his identity as a black. As he is a black, he is unable to speak about himself, and in the narrative as well, his identity is never is also marginalized in the terms of narrative, because Susan tries to give him voice, but at the same time his inability to speak about his own self, uh, it is not there. So it like in the narrative, though he is having the lack of voice, but though he is telling a lot. So in this James Coetzee has used his unvoicedness, his muted tongue, to say more than what can be described by Friday if he will be able to speak, or if he'll be able to tell his story. So it can be interpreted in this way.
Trushali, are there any contemporary issues or events that mirror the themes explored in Friday, the Muted Tongue of the Postcolonial?
Yeah, as I have just mentioned in my presentation, the last slide of the presentation, that we are having this so-called freedom right now, but the colonialism, what about, like, people cannot go against the power. That is the basic colonial rule, and the colonial powers were dominating them. like they were ruling over them, and they don't didn't wanted that someone speak against us, and if they were, they will be killed, obviously, in that colonial rule. But what is happening right now is, even if we are having a free state, free thought, but still we cannot speak against power. So this limitation remains as it is. Even though we are having democratic power, people ruling in our representative ruling the country, it remains in any forms of like government or any sorts of rule that is happening. So it remains the same. So this current ban on this media and arresting them, that can be connected to that. So thank you so much.
So, hello everyone. My name is Upasana Goswami, and today I will deal with the comparative analysis of Jane Eyre and Antonian. These are my personal information. These are a table of content. So, first of all, introduction: Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Novel published in 1847. A building. Building Groman about the life of the Orphan protagonist Jane Eyre, who become a governess and falls in love with her employer, Mr. Rochester. Reflects the Victorian society with themes of a class, gender, and morality. Biography was Wild Saragossi by Jane Rice. Novel published in 1966, a prequel to Jane Eyre. It explored the backstory of Bertha Mason, the mad woman in the attic, from Baroton's novel, and her life in Caribbean address colonialism, racial tension, and identity, particularly focusing on the post-colonial context of Jamaica. Historical and cultural context. Jane Eyre is set in the earlier 19th century, reflecting the Victorian era social norms, gender roles, and moral values, while Sargasso takes a place in the mid 19th century and delves into the complexity of the post-slavery and the post-colonial Jamaica, shedding light on the racial and cultural dynamic. In the Jane Eyre novels, this story is written in earlier 19th century, reflecting our Victorian cultural society cultural role, gender inequality, and the white surrogacy taken a mid 19th century. It deals with class and dynamic in the time. Antoniette and Bertha's a comparative character study, evolution of perception. The study highlights the evolution in a reader's perception of Bertha's Mason over time, instinctually see as an obstacles in a Jane Eyre. Her character gained more attention and understanding when viewed throughout the feminist lens and the conjunction with wild surrogacy. In a evolution of a perspective, the study highlights the Bertha's character. Their character was a very understanding understanding of a female legacy. Rochester deception. The study suggests that Rochester's characterization of Bertha as a monster may have been a means to conviction his own unchecked action and manipulate the Jane into marrying him. This highlights the power dynamic and injustice at the play in Jane Eyre. In the novel Jane Eyre, Rochester characterized the Bertha's characters just like a monster, and monster. He was a he was a tell Antoniette. So he get married Antoniette and tell the Bertha was a mad. So that's why I'm very upset I'm very upset of my marriage. Feminist perspective. It emphasized the importance of using a feminist perspective to revolution Bertha's role in a Jane Eyre. Promoting the closer examination of her action and emotion in a feminist perspective. In the feminist perspective, we can say Bertha's character was a very deep down and low character. In this character, male dominate is we can clearly see the birth clearly see colonialism and post-colonialism. While surrogacy, colonial oppression. The novel portrays the oppressive colonial society in Jamaica, where when white Creole settlers like Antonian are marginalized and excluded from the British rules class. Cultural clash. It highlights the cultural clash between a European colonization and native Caribbean population, reflecting the complexity of racial and cultural identity. In the we can see the white surrogacy novel. We can see the cultural clash in European and Caribbean population. Post-colonial agents. The story deals into the post-colonial agents of the display. Antoniette, who grapples with her identity and the effect of the colonialism on her life. Jane Eyre, colonial explanations. While not the central theme, the novel touch on the explanation, the mysteryment of Bertha's Mason, a character from the Caribbean by Mr. The Rochester, symbolized the colonial era's the treatment on non-Europeans. Imprecise the shadow. It indirectly alludes to British Empire's influence and the wealth generated from colonial territories, which funds to Mr. Rochester and Mr. Rochester lifestyle. Female agency and operation. While surrogacy by the Jane Ryan, female agency in while surrogacy, the character Antonio in a complex portrayal of women struggling to assert her agency. She is a white woman in 19th century Jamaica, dealing with the issue of racial identity and social isolation. In the white surrogacy, we can see a female agency. Antonian we can see a Bertha. She was faced so many struggle in her in their life and struggle in their life, and she faced so many psychological problem. Operation. The novel explores the various form of operation. Antony is operated both by her stepbrother Richard Mason and her husband Mr. Rochester. She is also victim of the oppressive colonial system and society expectation of women. Her inevitable confinement in the ethic is a symbol of the ultimately oppression. In this novel, we can see the society always expecting to the woman. She no, expecting the always acceptance of the woman. Jane Eyre by Charles Burton, female in female agency. In Jane Eyre, that the titular character Jane is a strong and independent woman who strived for personal agency. Despite her disadvantagement, social and economic status. Jane purpose and education seeks employment and refuse to conform to traditional gender roles. In the wide, we can see both novel women character, both novel in a women character. In a wild surrogacy, we can see the woman character is a very very not a strong character, but in a Jane Eyre story, we can see the women character just like Jane. She was a very independent and educated woman. Operation Jane herself is a character who expresses various form of oppression. As an orphan, she is mysterious by her aunt and cousins. Later, she faced oppression in her position as a governess through at the Truffle Hall and intuitively by Mr. Rochester. Due to their difference in social status, the character of Bertha Mason, Mr. Rochester's first wife, is also an example of woman oppressed by the construction of constraints of the time and her own mental health struggle. And Jane Eyre, Mr. Rochester's first wife, Bertha, she was mentally sick, and in this time, the Jane Eyre was a relationship with Mr. Rochester. We can see in this biography, Bertha faces so many struggles in her life, mental health and madness, mental illusion and colonial context. Both author explores the mental illness within a colonial context. Bertha and Antoinette are portrayed as an outsider or unique. Lunatic, reflecting the colonial view of the colonized as a different or dangerous. 19th century mental health and asylum. The 19th century shows a rise in a mental illness in England, leading to the establishment of Islam. Bertha is considered dangerous and is confirmed in ethic, reflecting the social perspective of mental illness. In the 19th century, we can show that so many women are facing a mental issue in his life. Heredity and appreciations attributes Bertha's madness to heredity and focus on her apprehensions rather than her inner experience of feeling. Postcolonial reversal in a wild Sargasso, the voice of Antoinette relieves her experience and the oppression she faced, challenging the stereotype created by Bronte, isolation and looking away. Bertha's confirmation in the ethic reflection, the perception that mentally ill were a threat to society during the era. Mr. Rochester looks her away, protect other and mentally solution security. Purpose of imprisonment. Bertha's isolation is depicted as necessary to keep society safe for her perceived madness. in this Bertha's character, she was mentally sick. So society mentally think that mental people are in a isolated. It's a better to society. Subaltern perspective, marginalized. Bertha's Manson and Antonius Crusoe are marginalized character in the both novel. They are silenced and oppressed, often being exclusive for the dominant discourse. Racial and gender oppression. Their subaltern identity is shaped by the racial and gender discrimination. Antoniette, as a white woman, faced racial discrimination in white Sargasso. Bertha, as a Creole woman, confronts racial basic in a Jain. In this both novel, we can see a racial comparison, colonial context. Both characters exist within a colonial context where the colonial power dominate the suppress the subaltern voice, subaltern voice, the marginalized status, silencing and madness. Bertha descent into the madness and her confinement in the attic in a Jain iron symbolize the silencing of her subaltern identity and Antonian experience of oppression and madness is a wild Sargasso. Similar demonstrate her subaltern status. Reinterpretation, white surrogacy, represents Bertha's character, giving a voice to her subaltern identity and proving a backstory that challenges the way she is proved in a Jain iron. In a conclusion, in comparative analysis of Jane Iron and Antoinette von White Sargasso, is clear that both characters face social opportunity and challenges. Jane Iron represent a Victorian morality and independence, while Antoinette embodies the post-colonial struggle and identity. In the both novel, we can see the struggle of women. We can see the both characters struggle of women in a Victorian era and post-colonial era. Ultimately, the story highlights the impact of environment and upbringing on the one fact with a Jane Iron seeking autonomy, with a society constraint and Antoinette with the legacy of colonialism and her own identity. These two characters illustrate the different aspects of female resilience and self-discovery in the literature. These are my reference. If you can ask me question.
Upasana, my question is that how does a male character, Rochester, impact the lives of Jen and Anthony?
Okay. In the Jane Iron story, the Mr. Rochester character, we both perspective are different. In a Jane perspective, Mr. Rochester in Jane perspective, Mr. Rochester was a very good man, in their life. And other side, Bertha's character and Bertha's perspective, Jane character was not good for her side. So their both character perspective to Mr. Rochester are very different.
Upasana, could you briefly explain why these two novels are often compared?
Okay. In these two novels, express the two perspective. In one side, a good perspective, and in other side, a bad perspective. In the society, people only think of one side of one side character of the one side face of the character, and they don't know the character right identity in the and the second story, White Sargasso story, Mr. Rochester character was not good. So in the second novel, express the reality reality to Mr. Rochester character. So this the both novel are compared because express the reality of the society. The people are not same what they express to side. So thank you.
Hello everyone. In the third day of the presentation, I am going to discuss about Friends Finance, the Wretch of the Earth, and psychology of colonial violence. These are the personal information. These are the points which I am going to discuss. First, introduction of writer Franz Fanon. Franz Fanon was a French psychiatrist, political philosopher, and Marxist from the French colony of Martinique. His works have become influential in the field of post-colonial studies, critical theory, and Marxism. Fanon was a political radical and a Marxist humanist connected with the psychopathology of colonialization and the human social and cultural consequences of decolonization. In the course of his work as a physician and psychiatrist, Fanon supported the Algerian War of independence from France and was a member of the Algerian National Liberation Front. His notable works are Colonialism, Black Skin, White Skin Towards the African Revolution, and The Wretch of the Earth. The fact that Fanon was a psychiatrist was to have a major impact on his analysis of the Third World Revolution. On the other hand, it was to lead him to underestimate the importance of social and economic structures and consequently to overrate the possibilities of change. His his work, The Wretch of the Earth. Franz Fanon, The Wretch of the Earth is a book first published in 1961. It is the most widely read of the books to emerge from the third world of halo of the post-war period. It has been translated into 16 languages and reached international audience. It is widely held as the most passionate and brilliant analysis of the process of the decolonization. The Wretch of the Earth is a book of a particular moment in history, but also of a stage of development of political consciousness in the third world. In the book, author writes about the psychoanalysis of the dehumanizing effects of colonizations upon the individuals and the nation, and discuss the broader social, cultural, and political implications of establishing a social movement for the decolonization of a person and of a people. The French language title derives from the opening lyrics of the international anthem. Through critics of the nationalism and the imperialism, Fanon present a discussion of a personal and societal mental health, a discussion of how the use of language is applied to the establishment of imperialist identities such as colonize to teach and psychologically mold the native and the colonist into their respective roles as a slave and a master. What is the colonialism? Colonialism is a domination of a people or area by a foreign state or nation. The practice of extending and maintaining a nation's political and economic control over another people or area. Colonialism is rooted in the Latin word colonus, which was used to describe tenant farmers in the Roman Empire. Missionary were active in practically all of the European controlled colonies because the metropoles were Christian. The psychology of colonial violence. It was violence of a settler against the indigenous cape. It was back into the everyday experience of empire, at least in the early stages of settlers' colonial states. Features of the psychology of colonial violence. It was quotidian, almost every day in character, and it was personal. It was outside of the big event violence like the Indian uprising of 1857. Second, its demographics impact on the indigenous populations could be profound. Anxiety and fear contain another subjective component that is also counterintuitive to how we typically think of the hegemon of the empire. Franz Fanon's The Wretch of the Earth and the Psychology of Colonial Violence. Franz Fanon's The Wretch of the Earth is both a sociological and psychiatric analysis of the devastating effect of colonialism upon the colonized individuals and the society. The book is based on Franz Fanon, the dehumanizing experiences in his native Algeria, then under colonial France. It reveals the devastating consequences of colonizations on personal and societal psyches and mental health. The cathartic values of violence reveals the influence of Fanon's psychodynamic training. He uses a great deal of Freudian metaphor in this treatise. For example, in discussing the need to release the built-up tension in the colonialized he writes, the natives' relation takes precisely the form of a muscular orgy in which the most acute aggressivity and the most impelling violence are canalized, transformed, and conjured away. Conclusion. For Fanon, the anti colonial struggle takes a common form of resolving the dialectic. Only a violent resolution would heal the mental health of the wretch. He writes, violence is a cleansing force. It frees the native from his inferiority complex and from his despair and inactions. It makes him fearless and restores his self respect. So, the book is both a sociological and a psychiatric analysis of the disadvantageous effects of colonizations upon the individuals and the society. These are the references. Thank you. Now you can ask me a question.
Fire, do you think we can apply this idea of psychology in our lives?
Yes, we can apply his ideas of psychology in our lives. If some people or some people struggle by his or her own mistakes and his or her any kind of problems with society and with so they Franz Fanon's his writing and work writing is very useful uh, for refreshing our minds and for a happy life.
While in The Wretch of the Earth, Fanon explores the role of national consequences and identity in the process of decolonization.
Yes, the Wretch of the Earth Fanon explored the role of national consciousness and identity in the process of decolonization. Uh, their decolonization is not in the economics and not only in the politics, but it also connected with cultural identities, cultural unities, and cultural heritage. So thank you.
Okay, a very quick feedback. First of all, still you have to be careful about time. It is 2 hours and 50 minutes. So 10 minutes exactly is what is your time. So otherwise, on the next day, after 2 days, when we will have our fourth presentation, we will have to keep a time, and we'll have to forcefully tell you that now no need to present. Sit down after 10 minutes. Then your presentation will be incomplete. You will not have a full presentation to upload on your YouTube also. If you keep on making very long, then very strictly we have to cut down your thing. So be careful in the last two. As we have told earlier, that presentation means you have to be precise. Brevity is the soul. In as less time as possible, you convey your idea. That is the skill to be enhanced in this. If you want to talk longer and longer, then assignment is there, where you keep on writing for 50 pages. No need to worry. Next semester, you will get a skill to write in 70, 100 pages. Then you will not be able to write beyond 50 pages. Then you will tell, now keep on writing. Now, whatever you want to talk, keep on talking. Dissertation writing is there. So everything has a specific skills to be enhanced. Different skills for different work. Assignment is different, online test is different, thinking activity is different, presentation is different. And as many of you still, yes, Mansi, Nirali, Riddhi, Upasana, Payal, you are just reading word by word. Everything that is written on the slide, you are just reading, again in a very dull manner. So there is no tonations also in your reading. So that is not presentation. That is reading. You are reading a paper. Then we can say that reading slides. Let us have no presentations, but we will name it as reading slides. You prepare slides, copy paste from internet, and stand and read. Nothing else. So, but that is not what we are doing. That's why in many universities nowadays, they deny to make presentations. Because if you allow presentation, means student will just read slides. They don't know how to make presentations. So people make it that no presentations. Whatever you want to say, you have 5 minutes, you have 7 minutes, say it out. No need to read in the paper also. Whatever you want to say, just speak within 5 to 7 minutes. Now, that is what perhaps we'll have to do next time. That no need to see laptop, no need to open slides. Just speak whatever you have prepared. You have prepared, so you are well aware about what you have prepared, and orally speak for 5 minutes about that. Otherwise, that is the another alternative that we'll have to do to see that you are able to speak for 5 minutes without looking at any slide or not. So do that, practice that, so that unnecessary reading, we do not waste our time in that. Okay, so a few things Insia, as we told. Now, this is very important point, and time and again we have told in the class also that when you have a topic which is in cultural studies, which is in post-colonial studies, and again in criticism also, then you have to be very careful that what are the differences, what is it doing in cultural studies, what is it doing in post-colonial studies, and what will be it as a literary theory. Different dynamics are there, which we are pointing out again and again. So if you refer to these examples, you refer to films like, for example, Kadvi Hawa, Kadan Aranya, film, Tamil, Telugu film, also you refer to. So when under post-colonial studies, you'll have to highlight that the issue of elephant is there, but what is the concern of the film under post-colonial studies is that there is construction of township, and because of the construction of township, the water flow for the elephants is blocked, and that is the concern for post-colonial critique. Township there. Post-colonial critique is not worried about elephant or forest as such. If you talk about, then you are doing ecological criticism only. But this reason, when you talk about construction of township and which is blocking the water resource for elephants, that is very important point. And in Kadvi Hawa, you referred, there is this concern about insensitive banking system, which can be connected with ideological state apparatus, but still that will go into cultural studies. But still, because capitalism also is at the target in post-colonial studies, as a part of capitalism, banking system can be criticized, or private banking system, or that can be criticized. So Kadvi Hawa deals with the poor people and insensitive banking system. Environment is a problem, but our concern is not only environment, independent of all other resources. So that way you have to see these concerns. There was a reference of NBA, their multinational company, and that you referred to. Otherwise, there at other places, there was simple eco-critical reading that you were doing. Then Mansi was reading this Bollywood and other things, also, but still very deeply you have to identify which aspect of that is very significant for this. Nirali was doing this comparative study of retellings, Robinson Crusoe and this Foe. One thing, comparative study that you remember and see that in the next semester when we study comparatives, at that time remember all this thing, that what way comparative study we are doing and where we need to improve. So next semester, be careful about those articles. Again, there will be research articles. So if you will not concentrate, it will be very difficult to understand, like the way it happens in post-colonial studies. There are only 2 articles, and yet it becomes very difficult to comprehend. Or in cultural studies also, there is lots of non-fictional things. So there will be full paper on that non-fictional things, comparative and translation, which will be very difficult if you will not make an attempt to understand those things. But because you have to do dissertation writing, you need to know how to read difficult articles. Without that, you will not get a habit of writing properly dissertation also. So this thing, that retellings are there, and what you need to question is this, that what was the original urge to write that story? And then what was the new necessity to retell it? Originally, why? What was the urge to tell that story? Why Daniel Defoe wrote Robinson Crusoe then? What was the original urge? And then it is retold in a new time. So what was the necessity to tell that story again? And here the necessity was a post-colonial necessity. So only through that angle only you are supposed to see that in post-colonial dynamics, how both the texts, even Jane Eyre also, you have to see from that angle. Pooja did a good presentation on Crusoe, both characters there. Okay. Rajeshvariba also compared well Fanon and Gandhi. Okay. Rinkal also did well, Madness in White Sargasso Sea. Trushali also read very well. There is one good article which was worth referring to. I don't know whether it was referred. This is written by some teachers in University of Bombay, connected with University of Bombay. Can the mutilated subaltern be free? They have made this new word, mutilated. Let us see the front page here. So you're talking about tongue, the muting of muted tongue, mutilated tongue, or mute. Mute means silent. And mutilate means to cut down the part of a body. So there is this play on this mutilant, which is connected with what you were telling. And you connected well with the contemporary reference to technology, internet, shutting down of internet and other things also. Okay, Upasana also, this why comparing the retelling, that you have to also see. And finally, Payal, you had several spelling errors also, psychology, spelling, and friends, that also was spelling. So prepare things in advance, be on time also, don't come late. Earlier you have to see, because we normally say that everybody is present and then we start the presentations. Okay, so we end this. We have a break for 2 days and then we will again join our 4th day of our presentations.